Good morning, or good afternoon, or good evening, whenever you are tuning in to this Facebook Live. My name is Isabel Tierney, and I am the founder of the Feel Good Life methodology. And I am here with you. Good morning, Sue. I am here with you this morning. I think it's like minus 24 degrees in Missoula, Montana. Good morning, Bren. It's always so freaking fun to have you guys coming in. It's like a Christmas present. Oh, Sue is here. Bren is here, Matt is here. It's so fun, right? Because you guys, good morning, Sarah. It's like, it's like, good morning, Angela. You know how usually if you have a party, you kind of know who you've invited. So you kind of know who to expect to come in. But with Facebook Lives, it's like a surprise. I didn't know Angela was going to be here, and Sarah and Susie. It's like, I just realized that it's like a Christmas party in which the most lovely guests are coming, but they are a surprise. Yeah, it's good to see you. Good to see you, Esmeralda. Yeah, it's funny, right? We always, in my work, we often talk about transitions, and I find that before I do presentations, whether it's a Facebook Live or whether it's a presentation to a company or, to my apprenticeship group, I always get a little nervous before I start, but I just realized, what is there to be nervous about? I get to say hello to unexpected surprise guests. Good morning, Jeanette. You see, I didn't know Jeanette was coming this morning. I didn't know Danny was coming this morning. And it's just all a friendly crowd. At least I assume that you're all a friendly crowd and that you're here because today's topic, right, what we're going to talk about today is the ins and outs of self-care. And I imagine that the topic is of interest to you and we get to talk about it and I get to share my insights about it and to hear what you struggle with. And it's all so good. Katie, oh, this is the best audience ever. I know, right? It's such a, I think we're all in, I think I have a tendency to attract, kind of no accident probably, people who are generally deeply heart-based and just want to become better human beings, I would say. It's not like bad or good, but like better human beings. You want to all have more love and more joy and more peace in your lives. And you're here to learn and you're here to grow. And I just find that in my community, there's so much humility, like humility to say, what else can I learn? Like, how can I change? How can I grow? Let me know if that fits for you, if that's who you are. Good morning. I know, Mary, always so good to see you. It's always so good to see Matt. So I'm going to get started on the topic because as I really sat with it, as many of you know, the topics just come from somewhere deep inside, whether we want to call it God or intuition. I never really know what the topic is going to be for these Thursdays, but I kept hearing in my community, with my clients, with course participants, that self-care was a real struggle. And of course, it is a higher struggle right now during the holidays because, we have I'm sorry, I'm fixing my hair. We have so much to do. We have more on our plate than ever. Yeah, you guys are all saying definitely hard-based. Good morning, Susan Derrickson. Claire, hey, good morning. Claire is part of my family. She is my son's girlfriend. And I'm not sure if it's the first time, which sounds, I'm like, wait, is that politically inappropriate? Like, you are my son's girlfriend. Whatever. You are one of the best things that's ever happened to our family and certainly to my son. So it's really good to have you here. Good morning, Chris. So yeah, self-care. Hey, Sammy. My daughter's here too. How freaking amazing. Hi, honey. Yes, I'll talk about self-care with food, honey. And yeah, so during the holidays, self-care seems specifically hard because we have even more on our plates than we usually do. But let us admit here, we all struggle. Well, okay, many of us struggle with self-care most of the year. So will you do a thumbs up or whatever it is, a yes on the thread to let me know, yep, you struggle with self-care. And you know what? I have a second part of this question. On a 1 to 10, right? 10 is I really, 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 really struggle with self-care. 1 is I don't struggle with self-care at all. Will you share your number? 10 is I really, really struggle with self-care. 1 is I'm so good. I put myself first. I take baths. I take massages. Good morning, Lisa Keller. Good morning, Cindy. So check it out. Good morning, Deborah. So 1 to 10, how much do you struggle with self-care? So Deborah is a yes. Jeanette, 8. Yeah, 8. Katie, 4. I imagine, Katie, that you've been working on this for a while. Susie, 9. Lisa, 4. I know how much you've worked because of this work, Lisa. Danny, it's funny, isn't it? Like the people who've gone through the apprenticeship program, and Lisa and Danny, tell me if this is true. It seems like you guys have a better handle on self-care than maybe even a year and a half ago when you struggle. Sammy, 3 out of 10. Nice. Deborah, 7. Good morning, Jean. Good to see you. Good morning, Michelle. So Matt says, fascinating to consider often use food as self-care and overdo turning it to false good habit. Yeah, exactly. We'll talk about that in a minute. Angela, 6. Matt says about a 7. Sarah, 5 to 10. Cindy, 5. 6. Yeah. Yeah, so really 6. So most of you, what I'm seeing, yeah, so Lisa used to be a 10 before she did this work, right? So meaning she had no self-care. And this is true of so many of us. We often put others first. And I think mine is so low because I'm so controlling though. Yeah, I hear that, honey. So we're going to talk about that. So let me talk about the context of this live. For the first part of the live, we're going to talk about what is the problem, right? Why do we struggle with self-care? And then the second part of this live, we're going to talk about the solution. So I'm going to make sure to be done by the 45. And so let's really begin. So I might look at the thread a little bit less so I can do some of the teachings, but I will keep checking it out. So let's talk about the cost, first of all, right? We all say we want to practice more self-care, and yet we don't often do it anywhere near as potently as we would like to. So let's talk about the cost. What's the cost on you? So there are 2 costs that I realized. One is the cost on body, mind, or spirit about not doing it. So for example, I was thinking about it this morning. Because I struggled with an eating disorder most of my life, my teeth are the greatest consequence of my eating disorder. And for so many years, I did not want to practice the self-care of really, really taking good care of my teeth. And I needed extra care because when you have an eating disorder, your teeth become really, really bad. So now there's a real life consequence, guys. I have many crowns. I'm missing teeth. I can notice my embarrassment about sharing that with you, but that's the consequence. There are some really big consequences about not practicing self-care, especially as we get older and we haven't practiced it for a lifetime. And then there's some more minor consequences, we can't focus so well during the day because we didn't eat breakfast. So what are some of your consequences that body, mind, or spirit, about not practicing self-care as powerfully as you'd like to? We're going to talk about others, right? We're going to, Mary also says she's worked very hard on it. Deborah says it's better than a couple years ago, been working hard on this. So what are some of the costs on you? I want to hear some of the pain points, because if they weren't pain points, you wouldn't be on this live wanting to learn more about self-care, right? So what are the pain points? We have to face them. Just with any time that we decide that we want to transform, that we want to change, we have to know what we're doing now so that we can find out what it is that we want to change. If we don't really face the cost of the pattern, I promise you, it's not, the impulse to change it is not going to be strong enough. So you have to be really, really, really honest with yourself. So Lisa says, I get very irritable. I get annoyed with myself for putting myself last. So irritation, annoyance. Good morning, Raven. You lose your interest in social interactions. Oh, that's interesting, right? So, Sammy, you say that it impacts the way you show up with others if you haven't taken care of yourself. But I'm also saying, like, what are the costs over time on your body? You know, maybe you have extra pounds that you don't want to have. Maybe you have blood sugar issues. You know, maybe they were things that you really wanted to do in your life, but that you didn't do because you didn't practice taking care of yourself first. So again, self-care, it's hard to practice self-care. We don't live in a world, it seems to me at least, in which self-care is really encouraged, right? Even in the spiritual development world, so often it's about being kind to others and being of service to others. And so putting ourselves first, even though we know we should do it, it's actually, there's a lot of information outside that tells us, no, 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 you're being selfish when you put yourself first. So Katie says, when I don't get out and move, right, I don't sleep, right? So there's sleep issues, lots of extra pounds. Yeah, I was trying to be politically correct. Did you guys hear the way I said it? Maureen, not being heard medically, aching red zone because of canceling appointments, headaches. Lisa says she lost opportunity. Jeanette says irritability, resentment, health issues. Guys, this is important. But that's part of the problem with ourselves and self-care. We're like, we are willing to override these costs. We're willing to be tired. We're willing to sleep less, at least up until today. Selfish is huge, right? I have a bunch of awesome clothes that no longer fit. Yeah, that's one of the reasons I get really irritated when I gain weight. Like, I don't really actually care. Brian doesn't give a hoot about if I've put on a few pounds or not. But I hate not fitting into my clothes. So I really get it, Angela. So there's the cost of not doing it, right? Exhaustion, depletion, irritation. We don't go out as much. We gain weight. We have health issues. And then, check this out, there's also the cost of how we give, what we think and feel about ourselves because we haven't taken care of ourselves, right? So that's like an extra layer. Like, we know we should take care of ourselves, and we have the consequences of taking care of ourselves. And then now we feel what? What do you feel when you know you should have brushed your teeth better, or, maybe taken a break, and then you don't do it? So for many of us, right, then shame and judgment comes. I should have eaten better. I should have moved, like whatever it is, like write what yours is. Now, interestingly, also for some of us, and this is of course what I have found listening to others and listening to myself, I have had for the longest time, and tell me if this resonates with you, a sense of pride. My kids know this. Like, if you said to me, how you doing? This was for a whole bunch of years, not anymore. I'd be like, I'm so stressed out. I am so busy. And my kids and Brian would say, honey, you gotta stop working so hard. And I'd be like, I know. But I secretly felt so much pride that I wasn't practicing self-care. Anybody else resonate with that? That there's like this pride about it, even though we know we should do it. Yeah, so shame, self-loathing. Sue talks about giving too much to others at a cost to ourselves, right? Deborah says if we model self-care to our children and others, they feel more empowered to practice self-care for sure. Yeah, we're going to talk about that. Like, right, what are the benefits of it? I feel noble. That is the word. Like Joan of Arc. I got stressed today. I worked 16 hours today and I feel noble. So where does that come from? Right? That's the next question that I want to ask you. Like, so for you too, Deborah, Chris, yes, but is there some pride? Yes, there is so much pride in busy. So let's take a look at why, okay? So one of my favorite sentences, many of you know this, that changed my life. Sometimes one sentence can change our life, was written by Janine Roth in her book, When Food is Love. And that sentence is, there is a perfectly good reason for everything we do. I'm going to say it again. There's a perfectly good reason for everything we do, everything you do, everything I do, even the stuff that you give yourself so much shit about that you think you shouldn't be doing. So when you start bringing the green zone lens of curiosity, like, what if there's a perfectly good reason for my not taking care of myself, right? Then the real exploration comes. And I've come up with a couple main global hypotheses, and I want you to check it out for yourself and see which one fits, which one doesn't fit. Number one, core beliefs that we've developed in childhood about self-care. So check that out for yourself. What did you grow up with in relationship to self-care? Did your mother, did your father, did your siblings, did your teachers, like, did your childhood environment reflect one where taking care of yourself was valued? So say yes or no, just so I can see really quickly, because it's hard for me to see all the comments, but I really will afterwards. So yes or no, did your childhood environment support healthy self-care? Let me know. Mine did not. No, I have this. Yes, Maureen says yes. So that's so interesting. I always love when I find out, because I'm so used to being surrounded by people who had really difficult childhood, right? That's often who comes to me as clients. So look at all the no's, right? Like, nope, 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 nope. Yep. For Lisa, nope, 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 nope. Yep. So if we grow up where self-care is not valued, so for some of us, not only is it not valued, it is actually punished, it is actually shamed, it is actually judged. So for me, I grew up where my caregiver, literally, self-care was an absolute horrible weakness. Like, what she prided herself on the most was never stopping, never taking care of herself. And if she ever found me, I'll speak only for myself, taking care of myself, playing with my dolls, maybe reading a book, things that I used to love to do when I was a little girl, I would get punished, because what was of most value was doing, and being a martyr. Like, being a martyr, Sue was talking about the word noble. That's what was noble. So yeah, so Lisa says punished for me if you weren't working or doing anything that could make money or help the family. Just let's take a moment. Like, I just want to, I get really engaged with you guys and with the camera and the topic when I talk about this stuff, but I just want to, for a moment, feel like I feel in my body, like there was something about Matt, maybe I just resonated so much, and just reading so much of what you're sharing, like it makes me so sad. So just let yourself feel for a moment how brilliantly you learned the rules of whether you had the right to do self-care or not do self-care, and how you may have spent a lifetime being such a good rule follower. Give yourself some celebration. You've done an incredible job. You learned what self-care, what the value of self-care was as a child. It's worth it, not worth it, valuable, not valuable. And then you spent most of your life, even in spite of your conscious intention, following the rules, what you learned. And so then, right, let's speak about in our lives today. We addressed this for a few minutes a little while ago. We also have a society that's actually quite paradoxical, isn't it, about self-care. It seems like on one hand, we have the message like the dove, the woman eating the dove chocolate, like, and it's a luxury, like eat the dove. I'm not doing a really good job, but you know what I'm talking about, right? Getting the massage or something. And then on the other hand, it's always what's valued so much is success and striving and stress and doing. And like you run into a friend and it's like, how you doing? I'm stressed. And it's like, oh, they have a busy calendar. My calendar is so busy. And so, when you grow up with a childhood that tells you self-care is not good, is not valuable, it's actually maybe even bad or weak. And then you're supported by a society, by an environment that says the same thing. No wonder we have struggled to do it. No wonder we might say consciously, I really want to do self-care. And yet again and again and again, you don't do it. Like in the morning you wake up, you're determined you're going to do it, and then you don't do it. Does that fit for you? Childhood, current environment, you learn that self-care is not a value that you really should cultivate. And so other values come first, right? So let's talk about those other values. I think Maureen had already brought it up. The other value for many of us is taking care of others. Taking care of others. And for those of us, I know Deborah wanted me to address the fawn response. So for those of us who have been raised in an environment in which there was constant trauma, right? Chronic trauma, rather than just learning to fight, flight, or freeze, right? Which are trauma, stress response, red zone habits. The fourth one that's been discovered in the last few years is called the fawn response. And the fawn response, another way to say it that I really love, is the please and appease response. When you grow up in an environment in which people are abusive, or there's addiction, or there's neglect, right? What you learn to do as a child, and as a grown-up, some people are married to people like that, you learn to make sure to please and appease the other, because if you please and appease the other, you might be safer. You might not be yelled at. Maybe they won't leave. Maybe they won't drink. Like all the things that you think as a kid that if you just please and appease the other enough, you're going to be safer. Anybody resonate with that? Does anybody have the fawn response? I discovered that, and Joanna Ducci and I talk about this all the time. I discovered when I first started reading about the fawn response, it was literally word for word for word for word what I developed as a child. Always trying to be kind to others, always putting others first. So as you start exploring alongside with me this morning, wow, look at all the yeses. Oof. Oof, I get a chill. Oh, I'm getting so many chills right now. Just slow it down for yourself too, okay? I'm so grateful that you're so active writing. And even as you continue writing, just feel it. Like feel the cost of having engaged in the fawn response most of your life. Specifically in this session, we're talking about self-care, right? There ain't no self-care when you are in the fawn response. One of the hallmarks of the fawn response is that you give up your own needs in order to meet the needs of others. Because again, right, you want to meet the needs of others so that they won't punish you, they won't leave you, they won't get mad, they won't get hurt, all the things. So it's a weirdly indirect way to self-care, right? In the end, you don't know this because you're a freaking kid, but you are doing this to take care of yourself, i.e. to be safe. But you literally, that's the only need that you are doing. What can I do to be safe? What can I do to be safe? How can I take care of you? How can I be perfect? How can I not piss you off? Can I clean my room well enough? And so many of us who grew up in trauma, it's like it's predictable, right? Some of us have like very strict, explicit rules. If you don't clean your room, you'll get punished. There'll be consequences, young lady or young man. And then some of us, there's addiction, especially in the family system or abuse. We don't even know. We do all the things that we think were right, like that we're supposed to do, the rules that we were told to follow. And then the caregiver is just pissed or drunk or high or something. And then we just get punished anyway. So the please and appease response becomes even stronger. Like we are constantly watching the environment and tracking, right? Tracking the slightest signal. Does she look mad? Does she look sad? Are you still doing that now? So many of us, right? And again, how can you see how this is directly correlated to self-care? And I want you to think about that please and appease response on a continuum, right? So if it doesn't fit you all the way, that you grew up with trauma, right? Think about, where do you still try to please and appease and take care of others before yourself? Write to me if that fits for you. Right? Putting others first. And we have many good reasons why we do that. They can't do it by themselves. We always say that about our kids. They won't do it right. This is the way that I can really love them. What else did I write? I forget what else I wrote. Like, why do we take care of others before we take care of ourselves? Is it our wifely duty? Is our motherly duty? Our fatherly duty? Our husbandly duty? Is it a requirement? Is it how we're going to be loved? Sammy says, I felt this in past relationship. You always feel hypervigilant and in flight mode and on edge, and it sucks, right? Not to get the other person mad. So you literally forego your self-care. Oh, yes, definitely. Well, I'm a nurse, so all the time, right? And there's a difference, right? There's a difference of when we've chosen a profession where we have committed to taking care of others, and that's fine. But if there's not balance by us taking care of ourselves, the cost on our bodies, our minds, and our spirits, and on our relationships becomes so high. And so even those of us who have chosen a caring for others profession, that's even harder, right? Our need for vigilance of taking care of ourselves, and we're going to talk about the solution in a moment, is even higher and even harder. Yeah, always put others first, as was modeled by my mother, right? When we have parents that model that and are revered for that. So, check it out, right? These lives are just meant to be introductory conversations for you then to take home and then to really start exploring. So check out, do some work this week. What beliefs did I learn in childhood? How is my environment still supportive of this? And do I want to change that? So let's move to the solution part. And it goes with this last question I just said. Am I really ready to change this pattern? So my first points, I have 3 points to share with you as solutions. All right, you ready? Write them down if you want, or write them on the thread. That way we have it obvious. Number 1, decide. Decide right now, today, if you're ready. It could be you'll decide tomorrow in a month, but let's check it out if you want to decide today. Decide that self-care is going to become your new highest priority. And when I say decide, it is you finally say to your conscious and your unconscious, hey, I'm doing this no matter what shit I'm going to unearth from my unconscious, no matter the obstacles that life will bring. And I promise you, life will constantly challenge you about this decision. Decide. Who's in? I'm in. I'm deciding. I'm deciding yes to self-care. Put the sentence, if you're ready to decide. Let us decide together. And of course, if you're like, no, I'm not quite ready yet. I don't know what would happen if I did it. Trust yourself. And if not, like, feel it. Decide. I am focusing on self-care. And once you make that decision, once you tell the universe, once you tell your conscious, your unconscious, your soul, your guides, whoever you believe is present and supporting you in your life, Whew, I love watching all your amens. Like the universe then conspires in your favor, but let me warn you, it will not just give you the easy ways. It's going to challenge you. It's going to test you. Do you really mean it? Do you? Yup, I've decided. Yup, I've decided. So number one, oh, I love you guys. Without shame and guilt, I have started. Yeah, it's a practice, right, Cindy? It's not a one-time thing. Every day. Like one of my favorite couple, do you guys remember, what's her name? Goldie Hawn and whatever her husband's name was. They spoke many years ago. They did an interview where they talked about why, like, they weren't married and why, and they said, well, that's because we decide every day whether we want to be with each other. And I thought that was so lovely, right? It's like you get married and then, well, I don't have to decide. I decided once. I decide in front of people. Decide every day. Every day. So that's number one. Number two, practice the 3 steps of the methodology. So for those of you who don't know the 3 steps are stop, slow down, and go. So let's slow this down. So stop. So let's say you've committed that you're going to work out today, or you're going to take a bath, or you're going to call for a massage. Like today I have a massage. And then well, I don't have the time. No, I'm going to have the candy, right? No, I'm not going to call for a massage. I don't have enough money, whatever it is. Stop. And remember that you are literally in a place of distortion, in a place of old unconscious habits. That self-care is not good. And you are rewiring that. You are changing in your consciousness to say, self-care is my highest value, my highest priority. So I promise you, all your beliefs that self-care is not good, that it's selfish, that it's weak, they're going to show up every time you make a decision to practice self-care. So stop and don't believe what that voice says that's going to counter your decision is one of the most important steps you can do. You guys ready? You guys good with that? Stop. I'm going to stop. Because I promise you, the voice that doesn't want you to do self-care, that has believed for a lifetime that self-care is bad, is going to show up when you start practicing it. Got it? Number 2, slow down and breathe. That's the second step. You got to bring yourself back into your higher self, right? Into what we call the green zone self. Because that, from this place, from your higher self, from this you that's here this morning that said, I'm in, that's who you want to take action from. And slowing down and breathing brings you back into that grounded, centered, higher self. Got it? Make sense? And step number 3 is go. Go do that feel-good habit. Go ahead and do the thing that you committed to do. And do it and feel it. Feel good doing it. So often we work out, for example, let's say we tell ourselves that should be what I do for self-care, but we freaking hate it. Or we eat something and it's like we eat salad, or, like I'm making that face because it's really cold. I don't want salad right now. And we don't enjoy the self-care thing because it comes from a place of should, or because we're so habituated to not feeling good that we don't even know how to do it. So the third step, actually do the self-care habit, is really another vitally important one. Enjoy it. And it doesn't have to be big, guys. It can be just looking outside. And like I look outside right now, and my lake looks so beautiful, covered in white. It can be taking a moment. I have 2 cats, to see my cats playing with each other. It can't be a 30-minute bath. It can be going for a massage. Like you uniquely are you. You get to decide how you want to practice self-care. For everyone, it's different. And that goes with the third piece. Be preventative. I promise you, life will get in your way. Count on it. So how can you set up preventative measures? So for example, right, I do a massage. I set up 3 months in advance my massages. So I already have the next 3 months set up, because if I wait until I'm ready, I feel good enough or feel worthy enough or valuable enough to get a massage. First of all, the woman is like 4 weeks waiting list, and I'm not going to do it. I won't do it. No, I'm not going to call. No, I really should work. No, I shouldn't spend the money. But because I've set it up all the way through March, when I get the confirmation, good. So what are some of the preventative ways you can do it? Make sure you have bubbles next to your bathtub. Like, what are the things that are your self-care practice that you can be preventative about? Because you are talking about fighting, however old you are, that many years, a lifetime of neural wiring. And that even when you're at the beginning of the neural pathway and you're like, instead of doing the old habit of not working out, for example, or of eating too much, of wanting to eat healthy, the neural pathways are so habituated, their groove is so deep to make you do the old habit. It takes a thing to say, no, stop, slow down and breathe. I'm going to pivot. And I'm going to do the new thing. It takes practice. This work requires you to rewire your brain to create new neural pathways. And so that's really the fourth thing. I have a fourth bonus note. Be patient, be kind when you don't succeed, when you forget, when the old wiring takes over. This is what we were talking about at the very beginning, right? We say we want to do self-care, life takes over, and then we give ourselves shit. And then we practice even less self-care. So this Buddhist nun, Pema Chodron, talks about not too tight, not too loose. So I don't want you to be too tight that you're like, if I don't practice the self-care habit, I'm going to give myself so much shit, I should be perfect right away. You don't want to be that tight. You're human. You're going to fuck up. But I also want you to not be too loose. Because if you're too loose, your old neural patterns are going to take over. I guarantee it. That's why I invite you to be preventative. That's why I invite you to do the 3 steps. The 3 steps, they pause you. They're like the pivot at that moment of choice point of going the old way or the new way, where you get to pause for an extra few seconds and say, what do I really want? Do I want to go the old way? I know the consequences of that. They never freaking change. Or do I want to pivot? Do I want to stop, slow down and breathe and go the new way? Do the new habit. So who's in? Who's in for practice? So number 1, decide. Number 2, practice the 3 steps. Number 3, be preventative. And number 4, be kind and be not too tight and not too loose. Yeah. So let's close our eyes. I know some of you are putting it in. Actually, let's wait another minute or so. I want to see all your amens. And then you can always listen to this live again. You know, I have this dream, because with these lives, unlike the way I teach at Sacred Sunday, so Sacred Sunday is this hour and a half, hour, 15 minutes that I lead every Sunday. On Sacred Sunday, I never have a plan. I don't have an outline. I'm present moment oriented. And these Facebook Lives, I really spend time outlining the topic that we're going to be talking about. And I'm like, oh my God, these would be such amazing ebooks. But the problem is, Raya, my COO, has so many things on her plate. that it's like I can't even ask her to do that one more thing. So just remember that there are 4 steps, and I see so many of you in. So let's close our eyes to complete. Let's take 5 minutes and let's see what shows up in what I imagine will be a guided meditation. So closing your eyes and noticing right now that just the act of your showing up on this live, whether you're here live or the replay, was and is a powerful act of self-care. You made the decision consciously, and I imagine even unconsciously, to put your attention on self-care, to get curious about it, to find out, why am I not doing it? What can I do to change that? That is self-care. So I want you to imagine confetti or sprinkles or I don't know what, raining down on you, celebrating yourself. You've already begun. You already did it. There is a part of you that longs deeply for self-care in spite of the other parts of you that have been taught and cultured into believing self-care was not a good thing. But the part of you who knows putting yourself first, taking care of yourself, loving yourself, valuing yourself, your body, your mind, your spirit, you know with a big capital K, that's the highest gift you can give, not just yourself, but others as well, this planet as well. Because when we take care of ourselves first, we are then resourced to take care of others. If you're not resourced, you will empty yourself out. You will become depleted. You will not be of the best service to others. I put myself first. I want you to say it at least 5 times, okay? Got it? So let's do it. I'm going to do it with you. I put myself first. 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 Notice what comes up. What came up? I feel a lot of vulnerability in my belly and my solar plexus, some grief. I think about how often I have looked to others instead of listening to myself to know what to do next. All the ways I've given myself up to please and appease others. My highest self-care right now is actually listening to me first. That's my highest self-care habit. What is your highest self-care habit? Or what are your highest self-care habits? And then commit, decide, and then practice. Let's take a deep breath in and out together, exhaling all of our air. Taking a deep breath in. And a deep breath out. Opening your eyes. So as we go, I'd love to hear one self-care habit you are committed to practicing this week until our next Facebook Live. One Would you please write it? And every time we come together in this container, we are creating an energy container where all of our intentions amplify each other. Oof, I can feel that, guys. The power of community, the power of group. And again, it doesn't matter if you're here live or replay. Linear time doesn't matter in the energy world. You're showing up, you're saying yes, you're being curious, you're willing to be humble and look at yourself and curious, you're making a decision. That helps all of us. We make our intentions stronger with each other. Do you guys know that? Making time for rug hooking, says Susie. Bed by midnight, says Millie. Prepare healthy food ahead of time. Yeah, because, oh my God, especially with food that also had the whole physiological component of the dopamine and the serotonin. My God, if we aren't preventative with food, it is so easy at the last minute when we're in the red zone or the yellow zone, we're stressed out, we're busy, I don't want to cook. And then we eat the chips, the ice cream, whatever it is. Daily meditations. Yes, Susan, daily meditation and journaling. Oof. Reduce carbohydrates and reduce sugar levels. Yes, Chris. Stop second guessing decisions I've already made. Oh yeah, that is such a good self-care habit because it is a depletion of our energy. It's like once we decide, be done with it. I imagine, Bren, like me and many of us, you've taken so long to make some of these decisions, but then it's like we don't trust ourselves. I am off this week. I will do something active and fun every day. Afraid I will be hit if I don't please others. Yeah, that's a freaking big one. That's real trauma. I'm hoping that this is not what you're running into still today. Raven, to acknowledge my efforts and tell myself I am proud of me. Yes. Deborah, get outside mindful even today when it's minus 11 degrees. Yes. Thank you. Thank you for showing up. Thank you for amplifying the energy of this specific topic and making it easier for all of us to then being able to take it forward. So next week, I am thinking this is an interesting one. So yesterday, I wrote a post about saying, how can I support you? And every single person who responded talked about wanting more help, like that they were struggling with friendships. I was really surprised about that. I was not expecting that. So can you write, yes, it interests me. If I were to talk about friendships, I was really surprised. So you can check it out. I think it's actually in this group. People saying, I'm struggling with having enough friends. I don't know how to keep friendships. Like the imbalance of feelings. Sometimes we are the only ones who reach out to friends and they don't reach out and then we feel hurt. Yes, it interests me. Yeah. Oh, interesting. Yeah. Yeah, exciting. We'll talk about friendships. And you know what? I'll create a post maybe today where I will say, what are your questions or what are your curiosity or what are your experiences with friendships so that I can start preparing for next week. Wow. Okay. All right. I'll do that. Oh, gosh, I love these Facebook Lives. Thank you. Thank you for showing up. You know, you can always listen to this again and again to be re-inspired. You can listen to the 5-minute meditation and take good care of yourself because that is the most important gift you can give yourself and others and this planet. All right? Goodbye. See you later.